it was the first time one of the boys actually asked how I was getting on over in England, Jack Carty. And it surprised me a little bit because I was like, I don't know this lad, I've never met him before. And he's been like, oh, how are you getting on with, Harlequins, how are you getting on with injury and stuff like that? And I was like, hold on a minute. I was like, how do you know any of this? Like, it's nice to see them getting involved and wanting to know.
Play by Play on Sports Joe and Her, brought to you by AIG, in support of 20 by 20.
Welcome to Play by Play. This week we ditched Jenny Murphy. She was getting a haircut and it's going to take about 4 days with a mop like that. So maybe she might be back next week, don't know, not sure. See how we get on tonight. But we're joined by an even better rugby player. We've Leah Lyons in with us tonight. And thanks so much for coming on.
No worries, thank you.
Buzzing, yeah. Totally fangirling Leah before the show started. So Leah, how did a girl from Ballyhooly get playing for Harlequins over in England and the Irish women's rugby team? Big journey.
Yeah, it's been a long one, to be honest. I suppose it started when I was 6 and 7 in Fermoy playing with the boys underage. Would have made my way up through that section till under 13s, and then there's a cut off, so you have to go join.
Were you sad when that happened?
A little bit,
we spoke about that one the other weeks,
yeah, a little bit, but I suppose it's kind of like it has to happen, so you have to get on with it in a way. And my dad and a few other coaches decided, we're like, right, we'll make up a team in the club instead of having to drive everywhere for a girls' team. And they set one up, it flew, like it was absolutely amazing. Worked my way up through that, and then there was a women's section set up due to it as well, and then joined them for a little bit, kind of played underage with Munster, went up then to Munster Women, played there, then was like, right, next level is AIL, highest league in Ireland. And so also joined Highfield for a couple of years, and I suppose then Highfield finished, I was like, right, might as well take a trip across the water and go and play at Quins. So yeah, it's been a long journey.
And you made your debut for Ireland in 2016. I can only imagine it was amazing experience, but how did it kind of feel for you, hearing the national anthem, your first time ever putting on that jersey, playing? Obviously it's something that everybody has aspirations to do, represent your country, so amazing. How did that feel?
Yeah, it was crazy. I think I wasn't really expecting it because it was a November test, and I suppose it was like England, Canada, New Zealand, so it was the top 3 teams where they were coming over to have a look for the World Cup, and I was like, not a hope, not a hope I have a chance of getting in on this. And then the next thing, they're like, oh, you get a phone call, and it's like, right, you're in for the thing. But like being there on the day playing against them, it was absolutely crazy. Like I think I got brought on early. I think Cleena Maloney got injured in the first half, so like I was expecting 10 minutes just to be like, okay, we're going to give her 10 minutes to kind of see how she goes, sort of thing.
Straight in the deep end.
Yeah, I think it was like literally 30 minutes into the first half, and it was like we were down warming up. There was 2 of us who were new caps, myself and Chloe Pearce, and the 2 of us would have came up from underage, and it was like, right, Leah, you go, and I was like, oh Jesus Christ. I was like, it was absolutely like terrifying, but it was absolutely amazing. Like, play against English girls, I think they were top in the world. And
I think you're being very humble, Leah.
I think you're it was crazy.
I think it was very well deserved at the time. So Leah, you've just finished your first season with Harlequins. Yeah. How have you been getting on over? Big
Great.
Move? Did it feel like a big move at the start?
Yeah, a massive move, I suppose. First time away from home and stuff. So
was it? Okay.
It was definitely like one of the big changes, and then obviously playing with girls from different countries as well, especially the English girls, a few Scottish and stuff. It's been absolutely amazing.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
It's great to get to go know girls from like new areas and stuff. So obviously when I would have went away on a few of the All-Star tours, and it's quite unusual. You're kind of tiptoeing around at the start. Girls you play against and stuff, and girls you might have had a few words with over the years. But yeah, no, it's always a great experience to get to play with other girls. And you were involved you're an ambassador for the new campaign that came out during the week, Try and Stop Us. Brilliant, by the way. It's an absolutely excellent campaign. So do you want to give us a little bit of insight into that for anyone who maybe hasn't seen it yet?
So it's basically a campaign that's for women in rugby, so whether it's coaches, can be referees, can be players itself, so it's for all around the world. So it's basically to get them a bigger platform to expose women's rugby on a whole.
Yeah, so it's kind of be similar enough to the 2020 campaign that's kind of running here in Ireland at the minute. So it's just about Yeah, exactly as you said,
exposure,
a platform,
really.
exposure for exposure for the sport. Brilliant. We AIG ran one recently there 2 weeks ago. Effort is equal, and it's just about kind of comparing, not so much comparing, but just outlining the fact that the effort that goes in from, say, our male counterparts. Obviously AIG would be very good to us. They sponsor both the men's and the women's team, and they'd be very good for exposing us. But their campaign at the minute is effort is equal, and it's a really nice campaign. But I suppose the main thing with these type of campaigns is that you're really, really hoping that people are getting behind them, and it's not just a nice thing that it's not just a nice thing that people hop on and throw up a hashtag on Twitter, but it's something that you would really, really hope people will get involved in. But that campaign seems really, really good. There's girls from all over the world involved. I suppose rugby is one of those sports where be a bit different from, say, soccer or GAA, my background. There's a niche, there's room for every type of player on teams like that. You need specialists in lots of different areas. Who would be the girls from around the world that are involved? Or?
I suppose from, because they literally brought us in from everywhere. So we've girls from Brazil. So we've Bianca
Brilliant.
Silva, who's massive name now on the Sevens tour.
Yeah.
We have Lady, who's from Colombia. We have Phoenix, who's a referee from China. We've Rebecca and Stacey, both of them one from New Zealand, one from Australia. So I actually would have met Rebecca during the World Cup when we played, and probably would have never seen her again, and then literally crossed paths. So that was pretty cool. And then from France, we've a girl, myself. We've actually a woman who set up the first Women's Rugby World Cup, Debs.
Wow,
so she was brought in as
amazing.
well. So that was quite cool to get so many different people in. And then we've a 12-year-old girl who was in with us as well. Her name is Lucky. So she's from Uganda, and it's such a mix of players, from club level right up to international. It's just great.
And I suppose it's just, I think I'm really lucky the sport I'm involved in at the minute has got a lot of traction. And I know I was listening to an interview during the week with Fiona Coughlin. She was saying that there's a huge amount of kids up training now at the different, I don't know, do you call them nurseries? We call them nurseries, the kids kind of things that will be on in the clubs on a Saturday morning.
Yeah.
But there's way more girls getting involved on a weekly basis. I know with GAA we've a huge amount of underage girls teams in our club, and would you find the same type of thing that's kind of happening?
Yeah,
I suppose, is that what the purpose of this would be, to kind of encourage? It's kind of aimed at nearly younger people.
Encourage kids to kind of get going, and I suppose at the moment too, with women's rugby and kids rugby, they have give it a try, so you can go up to clubs and they literally go, here's an 8-week session, have a go. If you like it, come back each week, and it's a free service that literally you can go up. It was with Belvo actually a couple of weeks ago, and you've Maz training and a few of the other guys, and these kids running around, they're good 30 kids literally trying rugby, and it was absolutely amazing.
Brilliant. So they're just trying to facilitate it, to give it a go, and if it's not for you, it's not for you.
Yeah.
That's great stuff. I suppose I'm going to talk a little bit now about the GAA. So you're from Cork yourself.
Yeah.
They had a really successful weekend there. The footballers had a really comprehensive win, and then the Cork Camogie ladies had won the Munster Championship. They had a really comprehensive win over Tipperary.
Yeah.
But I suppose I was looking into the Camogie team before we started today, and they're kind of going for a 3 in a row this season. The last time they would have done that, they haven't done that since 1973. So now they have been extremely dominant. I don't, back to back is really impressive. But I suppose, would you feel there's a bit of pressure for them, I suppose, going into trying to do 3 in a row?
Yeah.
Would you ever have been involved in a team where you felt that on the back of successful campaigns you've had?
Yeah, I suppose the girls would have had 2014, they would have come off a really good World Cup for us.
Yeah.
In rugby in France, they came fourth, which was absolutely incredible. I remember watching it myself. And then I think kind of 2 or 3 years later, obviously we're not doing very well. And then obviously the World Cup that was in 2017 it was a shocker for us, to be honest,
Yeah.
And I suppose from that, the kind of process of 3 years, I think in between, it was a disappointing from kind of going so high to then
kind of that dip.
Yeah, that dip.
And what do you think there was any reason? I know Jenny's spoken before about other teams going professional. Do you think that might have had a bearing on that kind of dip in
Probably, I suppose, like obviously teams going professional, like it's a good to see it, that it's starting, but I suppose for us it's making it harder for us to compete. I'm like, we're doing everything we possibly can. I'm like, girls are working, girls are training like absolutely stupid hours, like I'd call it.
Yeah.
But like they're putting the effort, but we're probably missing something. What we're missing, I don't know at the moment, but hopefully we'll start gauging that a bit better.
Yeah. So, do you know, obviously there was a huge amount of expectation that time for, because you had done so well in the previous World Cup and it was in Ireland.
Yeah.
So there was a huge amount of expectation and stuff. Did you find that maybe contributed to maybe some underperformances? I know speaking to some of the girls, I know some of the girls, and they would have been very disappointed, like you felt like you had a lot more to offer that time.
Yeah.
Would you feel that maybe the pressure of being at home, I don't know, would that have made a difference? Or
I suppose I suppose it was my first World Cup, so it was something.
Oh yeah.
Like my first one to kind of buzz off, but like I know, like myself, I was so disappointed in it. Like being there was absolutely amazing, and being on home ground, I suppose.
Well, you're a competitor as well,
Yeah,
like, you know, like, so everybody, when you play sports at that level, which is a step up for me again, nobody's happy to take part anymore, you know, it's not. So obviously
everybody wants to win at that stage, like they want to win the World Cup or get to as far as they can in it, and
just give a good account to yourselves. I would have felt that you probably maybe had a bit more to offer than you kind of
we underperformed, and we made a mess of it basically for ourselves. And even going through the final stages, like losing to Australia, who we won before, and then losing to Wales, who we'd usually win in a Six Nations and stuff. So it was really disappointing coming to the end of it, and then ending up in Belfast and like having that match against Wales, which is a qualifier for the next World Cup, and not getting that, it's a difficult one to take and to be around.
Yeah, and did that put you under a kind of a bit more pressure then moving forward to the next competition? Or?
Yeah, I suppose like we've World Cup qualifications in 2020 summer, so it's like next summer really, and it's going to be a massive competition for us. We've Scotland, Italy and Spain likely, which will be our four, and like for us we have to win the group. Like if we don't do that, we'll second place get to go off, I think, into another qualification, but it's going to be absolutely mental.
No, well, yeah, you obviously have ambitions to, you know, obviously do the best that you always can. On a personal level, my dad is your biggest fan, and you're kind of we were chatting before, going between kind of hooker and prop. It's quite unusual. Yeah. And would that be something that would kind of annoy you, or do you just kind of do what you're told, kind of happy enough to do your part for the team, whatever that is? Or is it something, you know, as I was saying before, rugby can be quite specialist, and obviously you're an incredible player, so you're well able to juggle the both, but do you have a preferred? Or
I don't really mind. I suppose like some days you could be going in prop or hooker, it kind of just depends. I suppose you change the way you play then, and kind of you have to then understand where you have to be on a pitch then, because everything changes. But it's usually kind of go in and then I'll throw, and wherever it is, it's wherever it is. I'm not really too bothered. I kind of like being able to move around.
Yeah, of course. And rugby has always been your sport from as a child, like. And do you think that has made a difference? I know you see a bit in the rugby where girls come from other sports, and I don't necessarily know. We have some girls that will come from soccer now and again, but they find it quite tough to kind of transition in. And do you think that you're at an advantage having played your whole life? Like, I know obviously we were saying there that there's more and more younger girls, and that initiative you're saying, give it a go, is it?
Or give it a try.
Give it a try, yeah. Oh, obviously, sorry. But that's brilliant, and hopefully, like, the ambition there would be to try and get girls the whole way up, so they're exposed, so they will be in a position to do what you're doing and kind of have an awareness of how to play in different positions. But do you think there is a difference, kind of a discrepancy there between maybe girls who, sorry, I don't mean to put you on the spot, but between girls who are coming from other sports who mightn't necessarily have played their whole life? You know, when you look at the English rugby team, there's lots of girls like you there who would have always, it was always their sport. But I suppose women's rugby in the country has only, like, it's massively taken off in the few years, or in the last few years. There was a really impressive team there when, say, Fiona Coughlin and stuff were there. The girls were doing super, like, yous are building again now. But do you think that maybe there is a difference in that sense? Or
probably not. Well, a difference, I think when I was younger, I suppose from playing with the boys from under 7s to under 12s to then go into quite a new girls underage section, I probably would have had that little bit of an advantage over them, I think. And like, I'm not the smallest person either, so it's probably easier to tackle a smaller person than myself. But yeah, I suppose, like, we've had girls come in from different sports, whether it be basketball, we've Aoife McDermott now on the Irish setup, and then sure we've Lindsay Peat as well, who's come in from absolutely everything.
Yeah.
Do you know, she might be old, but she's still well able to take it all on. You know?
Lily, you're old. Yeah. If you're listening, we called her. She played at Dublin for years, but
I'll get you a purple snack, I promise.
No, she's still flying it. Yeah, no, she's gas character, but
And they've developed and adapted to absolutely everything. Like, you know, we've been able to use their skills. Like, you know, Aoife being absolutely tall as anything, like being able to put her up on a line out, and Lindsay just absolutely flying around the place. Like, you know, they've been able to transfer their skills over, so it probably has helped them in a way. And then it's just trying to learn rugby on top of that. I think other sports do help girls develop to then be like, okay, I can branch off into different sports. So I'm like, even Gaelic football coming into rugby, I think it's a massive thing. You've all the hand-eye coordination. Yeah. Girls can kick, which in rugby is quite a difficult thing to get people around. And then obviously the change of shape of ball and stuff like that. But they're able to then develop the skills that to bring it into rugby, I think.
Do you think it's something that we'll start to see less of now as more and more kids, less people transferring across? Like, I know the girls you've mentioned are doing amazing. Lindsay's an absolutely incredible rugby player. There was a few times there at the start where the rules were not her friend, but she's totally got to grips with it now. She's gas. But do you think it's something we'll see less and less of, or do you think there'll always be space for people to kind of transfer across?
I think there'll always be space, because I think even when we look at the sevens girls, like all the girls have moved across from different sports.
They're doing that, I think, incredibly well.
They're doing absolutely amazing, to be fair to themselves. And like, a few of them have come up through underage rugby. So I used to play with Aoife Doyle and Amy Lee. Like, the two of them came up through rugby. Yeah. But then you see Lucy coming in from football, and you see like Louise come in as well, and from different sports. But they've been able to adapt and play away. So I think it's something positive that we can probably use in this country to kind of branch people out into
brilliant.
Different
Well,
sports.
we had Sarah Rowe in here a couple of weeks ago, and she seems to have had a really successful campaign. She transferred across from obviously the football to the. So it's not something that's totally unusual, but you know, it's just that you maybe might have more than say other countries. But I suppose the GAA is something that's only here, and lots of those skills will be quite transferable.
Yeah,
so
definitely.
that's probably, you know, like, soccer's not necessarily.
So it's,
exactly.
It's one of those things.
Brilliant stuff. Well, we are going to move on and have a quick chat about the 2020 campaign. So we kind of touched on it there before, when we were chatting about Try and Stop Us. So during the week, Dee Forbes, so she's the Director General for RTE, and she was speaking at a 2020 event in Twitter in Dublin, and she was saying that RTE are actually going to be in a position, in line with the campaign, that they are going to have 20% of their sports coverage, by 2020 is going to be women in sport. So that's obviously absolutely amazing. Majority of your games will be on TV, would they?
Yeah, a lot of us, yeah.
Do you think it makes a difference to the sport, or?
Yeah, definitely. I think people watching it, because like, if we're away in different countries, obviously they have their own channels as well, and if we're over in England, like, it goes on to Sky, so it's an absolute massive platform. And then here too, like, we've RT and stuff taking over, which is absolutely great for us, you know.
I suppose in my sport, we would have had a huge amount of support from TG Cahir over the years. They've been very, very good to us, and as the years have gone on and the sport has grown, they've started to show even more games. And then in the last 2 years, we had Air Sport kind of got involved, and they showed a couple of the league games as well. And I would find that it gives us massive exposure that we wouldn't get otherwise, you know. And people say to me, sometimes they might have even had an awareness it was on, but they were flicking, and then they're exposed to it, and then they're watching it. So I think it is a really positive thing. And then obviously that's amazing to hear about 2020.
Getting behind everyone.
Yeah, exactly.
Definitely.
And would you obviously do a lot of analysis and stuff involved. Would you ever record your matches and go back and give them a look after? Jenny's always giving me grief.
I suppose obviously we get our own from like our video analysis.
Yeah, of course.
But then you always kind of want to see what people say as well, if there was anything they picked up and stuff. I suppose, I would go back and I would rewatch it on.
Okay, so the pundits, like, what do they?
Even half time, see what they thought, or even like answers and questions afterwards, see what they thought on. I think, I don't know, it's always something I've done literally straight after a match, like 3 or 4 hours later, and have a match replaying.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Very good. Just and kind of like learning, or would it be a situation where you scored a try and you wanted to go back and look at it, or
kind of go back through it all, and then obviously then if I'll see myself or I'll see a situation, I'll kind of go pause and then like rewind it a little bit and then go through it. But try and be like, okay, I've played it, rewatch it, go to bed, and then obviously to do analysis and all that kind of crap.
Yeah, whenever you get back with the group or whatever. And RTE, we were chatting about it during the week. They're going to be, we actually have a sweepstake with my club team. They're playing all the Women's World Cup games. The football, would you have an interest in that?
Yeah, I'm excited for that to come up and just sit down and watch something.
No, I think that's such a brilliant step forward. I know we spoke about it on one of the last episodes, but obviously when you're trying to kind of, these campaigns try and stop us, or effort is equal, it's so important for women's sports to be shown. Like you're kind of fighting against the current if it's a situation where you have all these lovely campaigns and everyone's thinking, oh, isn't that lovely? But then if you're not getting to see the women athletes, then who are the kids going to look up to?
It's exposure too, because I think like even seeing it online or see it in media, I'm like, the kids now know who people are. When you're walking around the place, you get, oh my God, that's so and so, or like this, that, these, and those, and it's cool to see. But then it's also being like they're able to see this because people are putting an interest in there and people are putting it out there.
Yeah, so it's making a big difference.
Yeah.
Who would have been your hero growing up? If you're saying like kids know you guys now, it's the same with us. Like people would know who Noelle Healy is and Sinead Hearn is, and it wasn't a situation where, say, in 2003 and 2004, Dublin were in All-Ireland finals and people only kind of really knew Angie McNally, and it would have just been because she was getting a few newspaper headlines and stuff like that. But I think it's a situation now where we've had a little bit more exposure and kids in the clubs are aware of who we are. So like who would you have... You would have been a little bit more involved though in the rugby scene. You were kind of... I read an article about you... being a mascot, Munster's first ever mascot. Yeah, I suppose like we've always been involved in stuff, but like growing up as a kid, like there would have been very few female like stars. Obviously we would have been like involved with Munster, like women's making like sandwiches and stuff for them after trainings and stuff, because they'd use Fermoy as a base basically, and like you'd have Fiona Steed who'd be ex-international coaching them, and you'd be kind of going around and be like, right, what do you want? I'll go help you and stuff, and you'd have all these like just players then now who are your friends, like you'd have like a really young Kate Sheehan like throwing in a ball in a line out, you'd have Amanda Greensmith, like Marie Barrett, should be all these older names, but like I'd still know them now, I'd still be good friends with them. But I suppose like growing up it would have been the girls in 2014 World Cup, like 100%, like they've done so well over those stages, like they've kind of went, we can actually do this and get there as a group. So I think any of those girls in that. The Six Nations just before that, they used to play a lot of their games in grounds that aren't as good as what they play in now, didn't they? So do you think there has been progress there in the sense, in the landscape as a whole? So like the women's rugby landscape. Do you know, I remember myself and my dad used to go out and watch the girls playing in Ashburn, gorgeous club, great facilities and stuff like that, but it's not the same as you get into a big stadium. I suppose like they would have probably been in not lesser stadiums, I wouldn't call it that, but they probably wouldn't be in these big fancy stadiums like we are now, where it's like you go to France, you're in Toulouse, you're in one of their main stadium in Toulouse, while a couple of years ago they could be anywhere travelling around Europe or even Italy. They've had a few interesting games in Italy where the ground has been absolutely... Their Six Nations win when they were absolutely covered in muck. I remember watching and being like, didn't know where there was a player, but like it was literally just mud everywhere. Well, now it's like, thank God every time I've gone to Italy now it's been sunny. So I've been quite lucky, but like we get a really good chance at playing in these big stadiums. You get Donnybrook. They had Ashburn before. Like I've been there to Ashburn so many times. Such a historic like pitch for women's rugby. We've Donnybrook now. We went to Twickenham. Like that was an absolutely crazy experience. I'm like, I've never been past it every day because I was living close enough to it. And you're kind of like, geez, I'd always want to go in there. And then for the next day to be like, right, there's a men's team before you playing. You have the Australian lads coming in, the English being like, good luck. And you're like,
jeez. Like, but, you know, like absolutely like mesmerised. Eddie Jones coming in, and then I think our head coach was like, right, don't, you know, try not get too taken away with it all, like, because it's, you know, there's still 80,000 people inside the stadium, and you're all kind of like, right, we're going to walk out, and the Australians saying like, good luck on this, and you're like, thank you, and then you go outside and just, you can feel the noise like that. It's amazing.
And was Eddie Jones just kind of giving you advice there in the sense of just not getting taken aback?
No, I think they were just like, come on, you have to get off the pitch.
Oh, really?
The women are coming on.
Very good. We're really lucky as well. This season we got to play a couple of double headers before the men. And do you think that is important, or would you find it as a situation, would you like to be playing in these stadiums on your own on a separate day, or do you think it's beneficial playing before the men's
I think it's definitely beneficial. I think you get the opportunity to be level pegging with them. I suppose like I'll bring back Twickenham, because I'm like, we wouldn't have an opportunity to be in that situation unless they made it a double header. And it's like the boys were playing Australia before us. We came into the dressing rooms, like our dressing rooms across the way, while they were still playing outside, so you could still hear everything that was going on. Like we didn't. The day before we didn't have a captain's run, so none of us actually had been in there unless probably we were a spectator or have been there playing before, which probably would have been very few. So it was a massive experience, and I suppose even going out onto a big pitch, like, you know, and then like it's an 80,000 people, there was still, like the whistle went, we were allowed out, there was still 70,000 people there, and I suppose that's something we're not exposed to very often. Yeah. Like I suppose Donnybrook, we would have, I think we'd 9, was it?
Yeah,
I think.
The attendance
9,000.
Really yeah.
And like it was crazy this year, like for the girls, and like that was a massive crowd for us at home, or even away. I think we could have had like a good couple thousand in France, but they would be the highest. While whether we're in Twickenham now and there's still 70 people inside, yeah, they mightn't all stay, but you still get that experience of being like, right, you have to listen.
But it's probably gives people who otherwise might not watch women's sports a chance to, like, exposure to when I'm thinking of myself, like the exposure to our sport. But would you feel like there's an onus on you then? I would always feel that when I play for Dublin, I'm actually representing the sport. Like if we play badly, it's not like, oh, Dublin played shit, it's like, oh, women's football is shit, you know what I mean? So would you find then in those double header situations where there's an onus on you to, similar to what would have happened at the World Cup that time, that there's an onus on you guys to perform because you're actually representing women's rugby sport, and not just Ireland, which is obviously huge as well. So would you, like in those double header situations, would you feel that tiny little bit of expectation?
I suppose like you're looking, it's on a bigger stage, and like,
of course,
you know, there's a lot of people watching and stuff, even and it's being televised. So obviously every match you play, you want it to be the best that you can. You want to represent the sport in the best way possible. So I suppose you'd have that expectation and that want to make it be the best occasion it can be for everyone involved.
Same here, girl. So that's the end of part 1. To bring us into part 2, we're going to have a quick look at one of the Try and Stop Us videos from the campaign that Leah's involved in that we were speaking about at the start. Check it out.
First rule, try. Second rule, try again. Life will hurt sometimes. This game will give you strength to never give up, give in, or give an inch. Whatever your size, shape, or story, there's nothing you can't tackle, no line you can't break, no obstacle you can't get over, or power straight through. There'll be judges, disapprovers, non-believers. Fear less, play more. Because once you've started, You can't be stopped.
Okay, welcome back to part 2 of Play by Play. We have, if you're only tuning in now, we have the legendary Leah Lyons here with us. I suppose just before we kick off, I just want to mention about, we spoke about in one of the last weeks about, I don't know, did you hear Nike where they were kind of penalising some of their women they were sponsoring if they were pausing their sponsorship anytime they got pregnant, and they came under a lot of scrutiny there on social media and stuff. And the New York Times have come out during the week and released a statement from a Nike spokesperson saying, we recognise Nike can do more, and there is an important opportunity for the sports industry to collectively to evolve to better support our female athletes. So we would have spoken about this during the week. Do you know any mammies that you play with?
No, I'm
Lily's
a kid, but
yeah, she's well able to juggle it.
Juggle away.
But yeah, I suppose I just think it's a really positive kind of step forward. I know that they kind of were bullied into this, taking this stance, and it's a situation where they probably should have been doing it from the get-go. But no, I think it's really badass when women have kids and they come back then and are still in a position to compete at the top level. I don't know, do you follow Jessica Ennis? She's incredible now. Obviously she only had her babies when she was retired, but she's basically doing some sessions and I'm like, you are still an absolutely phenomenal athlete, and
when
she's
still able to compete at the highest level, and you're like, you're just after a kid and the rest of us are still like behind you.
There's a couple of New Zealand girls, isn't there, who
a few of the sevens girls who've had kids and are back playing like
at the highest
main
level.
stage. It's just
badass.
Crazy. Absolute badass.
I just wanted to touch on that and say that I suppose Nike have changed their stance. They were somewhat bullied into it, but I suppose it's still a positive step forward. Then just in terms of the big one over the last couple of days is the French Open. So would you watch any of the tennis? I just jump on the big tournaments myself.
Jump on a few of them, but I've seen bits here and there.
So Angelique Kerber was knocked out of Roland Garros yesterday by 18-year-old debutante Anastasia Potapova. Sorry, excuse me. But I suppose the thing about Roland Garros is it's clay, obviously. Serena Williams has only won, I don't mean to say only won it 3 times, you know, she's absolutely the best of all time. She's the GOAT, only 3 times. But, the world number 1, Osaka, she has never got past the 3rd round, so it must just be a really, really tough place to go. I know we spoke about you, or the rugby girls going to Italy, and they brought you out to a muddy patch there. So is there anywhere that strikes you as probably like a tough place to go in your own career? Or
I think tough.
Even club or...
I suppose like even like last year we went away to France, or was this year? Whichever year, we went away to France, and it's such a hostile environment, definitely, to go to. And I suppose because it's such a big thing in France, rugby's massive, you know, and like we were in Toulouse and like massive stadium there. I think they packed the stadium nearly, and
brilliant though.
Yeah, absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
And I remember, I think, warming up down the bottom end, so it was a sub, and you're literally like running across the sideline, you're getting a little boo on the side, and you're like, this is like, it's nuts.
You got booed?
Yeah, but it was just, you know, I think it was just a French thing. Yeah, you're like, yeah, okay, I'm just warming up here, like running across, but like it's a hostile environment, but it's something that it's difficult to go away and play France in France, because they big up for the occasion, they absolutely love it. Like, you know, they're superstars over there.
I suppose that's something that the from watching the men's rugby all my life, that's something that would transfer across. The men would find it a very hostile place to go. Stade de France. Would you have much interaction with the men's setup?
Probably not the international side, but obviously with club, I'm with Harlequins now at the moment, so we'd have a massive connection with the boys. The club would do a lot with us. Oh, really? Very good. Tell us a bit about Harlequins. I'm quite interested. So obviously, where were you before? Just for people listening. I suppose I was playing club with Highfield, and then they disbanded this year, just numbers and stuff in the club. just support and stuff wasn't great, you know. And playing with Munster, which was good, and then went, right, might as well move to Dublin or move to England, and I was like, sure, I'll go across the pond and see what the rugby's like over there, and joined Harlequins. Sene and Dervla Nick Fern Sene, who used to play over there, so they were like, right, here is contact, go contact them, see if they're interested, you know, and have a go. It's like, you know, what harm could it do? You know, if they say no, they say no. And I suppose I was talking to the manager, had a phone call with their head coach, and she literally sold it to me, and I was like, right, do you know, when do you want me? And she rang me up one Saturday and was like, time to go, do you know, I want you over here by a Tuesday. So literally packed up my car and literally went on a Tuesday, and haven't been back really since.
And is it quite a professional environment? I'm just interested, like, I think this is amazing.
No, it's so professional. I suppose, like, going over to the club, I suppose I was put in contact with kind of, we call her our mother of Surrey, so she kind of Atlanta, she minds us basically.
We have one of those as well. Her name's Kathleen.
So they literally like, right, if you need anything, get on to me. When you're going back, get on to me. I'll be down in Guildford and stuff. Or if you need anything, I'm at the stoop. I'm always on the phone. So they're always there, whether you need anything or not. And like the professional side, it was like, obviously the English girls have gone professional, so we've kind of benefited from them going. So I think we've 5 or 6. So we've like Abby Scott, Rachel Burford, Leanne Riley, Vicky Cornborough, Shauna Brown. Like, we've all these girls, and we've, you know, Scottish girls as well who are playing international. Debs McCormick and Jade Conkle. We've
forced to be reckoned with by the sounds of it.
Like, it's crazy. It's like we've nearly a full pack, I think, of just international girls that come over. And we've had a girl from Australia, we had a girl from USA who came over. We've Swedish in, like, we've girls from absolutely everywhere who've come in to play competitive rugby. And I suppose there's 60 on squads here.
It's a big change from probably what you were coming from. You know, say for example with the provinces here, they're quite not parochial, but like, you know, people grow up play when you're growing up, you think, I want to play for Munster or I want to play for Leinster, but it's not necessarily the case when people are growing up in England. They're saying, I want to play professional rugby, but they mightn't necessarily have a team in mind. So I suppose it's a bit more multicultural than just by listening to you now than what you would have been
like,
used to.
Obviously growing up I would have been like, I want to play with Munster that day. And, you know, I did that, and I suppose for me it was a chance to see what else was there. And like, for us, like over in Quins, I suppose you've girls travelling 2 or 3 hours to get to training. Do you know, and like you're training 2 or 3 times a week, like, so they have to be there for training or you're not going to get selected. Like, there's 60 of us on squad for 2 teams of 22, so you don't really have that time to mess up or not be there. Like, you have to be there, you have to be training good, like, so there's always that competitiveness.
And when you said earlier that there would be kind of a bit of interaction with your male counterparts and stuff, obviously I would always think that that's really important. You know, people have said to me in the past, they kept flicking to the lads whenever someone scored a goal and stuff, and I was like, why shouldn't, you know, their profile is really high, and we should use it to try and raise the profile of our sport, and there's no harm in it. And AIG have been really good to us. They promote all codes. They promote the camogie and the hurling and the football all equally. But when you were saying kind of the men would be involved with you, what would that kind of look like? What I
suppose, like with us, like we use the same like coaching area, so like all our coaches are together. We use their dressing rooms, like we use same gym facilities, pitches, everything. So it's just kind of working us in and out, who's in and out at the same day. But like, we could be in during the day, the boys will be there. Do you know, if you want to lift up the top in a golf buggy, they'll give us a lift up. Do you know, like, they all know us, so they're all like, yeah, get in, go on, we'll go for a spin up, and stuff. I suppose, like, do you know, we'll have food with them as well, day to day and stuff. And like, even on a daily basis, like, you're always getting said hello, like Joe Marler, hello, how are you? Do you know, it's a bit nuts from here. It's so different, because you wouldn't.
Would you have been very separate in Munster? Like, you wouldn't.
I suppose you wouldn't have that connection as you do over in Quins. I suppose it's something that they've brought in massively. That it's like, right,
kind of a family more so than
massive. Like, I'm like, even like going around with them, they'll come in and they'll help us in training sessions. So like, we've had Paul Gustard and Adam Jones come in and do scrummaging and just defence with us, which has been crazy. And I suppose, like, not that they don't do it here, but it hasn't happened yet, which would be absolutely amazing if it did, because you're looking at, they see a different side. You know, they're training men, gives them a side, and get them to train women. It's completely different.
No, it sounds great. Sounds unreal. Just obviously that whole environment that it's like we are one club and stuff. It's not just about one of the teams. It's all the teams that are involved. But that's amazing stuff. I suppose I'm going to ask you now about Harlequin's Christmas party.
Oh, yeah.
Can you give us a bit of an insight there?
Yes, it was just literally, we'd finished gym in the morning and the boys were having their little Christmas dinner together and stuff, and one of the girls got a phone call or a little message being like, right, whoever's around, you can come up and join them. So I suppose all the boys are in Christmas jumpers and stuff. We're after gym, so we're
looking lovely.
Yeah, absolutely stinking, looking lovely, and paddle on in. And I suppose for us, it's that other connection that we have, being like, you know, they're allowing us come into this their team environment and stuff and have a bit of crack with them. And I suppose we go in and there's probably like 1 or 2 seats at each table, so like we have to like mix
split
around,
up.
split up. You know, when we all kind of go in as little penguins, all gathered together, and then it's like, right, split up time. And I suppose you come in and food there, so it was like, right, starters first, and it was get your bits, and then main course came out, and the boys were like, right, I suppose ladies first, and it was kind of like, you know, I'll serve this to you, and I'm like, you wouldn't get that somewhere else. And one of the other girls was like, nah, lad, I was like, this is food, like everyone for themselves. But like they were so inviting and just a load of crack, and had their own little like Christmas carols and stuff, whoever forgot their jumpers, and it was just a really great environment.
Brilliant.
Yeah, around,
sounds amazing. Beyond just the names that you've kind of mentioned, is there anyone who would be, you know, watching your games, maybe saying, giving you a bit of feedback or anything? You know, like, not that you necessarily need it, but obviously when I watch the men's games, or I'd be thinking, you know, oh, this person did really well, they're doing this really well at the minute, or anything. Is that ever that type of interaction, like, between the two groups? Or?
Yeah, like in quiz, definitely. I think the boys always know what's happening. They always know that there's a match happening, and or there's you know what the score was, or how'd you get on at the weekend. You'll always get that little interaction. And then I suppose we were at the Rugby Player Ireland Awards at the weekend, or last week, and it was probably the first time, second time, was like, oh, Sean O'Brien would be so interested, like he knows Ali Miller and stuff, so there'd always be that connection, being like, right, what's happening? We went to a few of the World Cup games, and it was the first time one of the boys actually asked how I was getting on over in England, Jack Carty. And it surprised me a little bit, because I was like, I don't know this lad, you know, I've never met him before, and he's been like, oh, how are you getting on with, you know, Harlequins, how are you getting on with injury and stuff like that? And I was like, hold on a minute. I was like, how do you know any of this? Like, you know, it's nice to see them getting involved and wanting to know and
showing an interest.
Yeah, showing an interest.
I think you're unbelievable. So they should. I'm just embarrassing you. Sorry. No, that sounds amazing. So, what's the next kind of step for you, like moving forward now? You've obviously had by the sounds of it, lovely first season with Harlequin. So where are you now in terms of just your season and moving forward? I suppose I'll head back to Queenstown in a couple of days, and they kind of start pre-season, but I'll be back into, I know, it's like pre, I was like, oh, it's not even pre. So they kind of do that for the month of June, and then I'll be hitting back into rehab and stuff and trying to get my shoulder back up for November and stuff, and then you're back into full training with them, and then back into Irish camp. Do you mind me asking about your shoulder? What happened? Or what is it? I mean, like... during the Italy game, I kind of just made a mess of it, and they'd go fix the inside, so they'd fix the labrum in the inside, so... It's grand to put together now, no sling anymore, so I'm quite happy. Tape it up. Yeah, tape it up. Put me in. Grand, yeah. Okay, brilliant stuff. So you're going into pre-season, and would you miss kind of your girls at home, like the girls from your team that you would have came from? Obviously, you were saying it was a big step for. Yeah, I suppose every time I kind of come back home, I'm like, right, who's available, who's here, then every there. So I do a quick meet up, I suppose. The last week I've literally been in Dublin for a couple of days, so I'm like, right, try and hit everyone. And do you miss your mum and dad? Yeah. I'm just thinking from my own side, I don't mean to say it, but just from my own point of view, I'd be like, oh God. Yeah, I suppose I do. Like, I miss being around home and stuff, and I have a little niece, so I kind of miss being around her. You kind of see her grow up in stages instead of like together, yeah. Well, brilliant stuff. Thanks so much for coming in this week.